The total motorcycle sales, that's fallen by about 22%. That's the year-on-year figure. But the total sales as well have fallen short of expectations. I think we were pricing in about almost 4.3 odd lakh units. 4.02 is where it's come. So it's down about 20% on a year-on-year basis. But I want to see what the month-on-month trend is, because that's going to give you a better sensibility in that sense of how the trend is actually shaping up and whether or not there's been any recovery in that sense from the previous month. Safe to ignore what September trends are going to be like, because they were to be weak in any case. I think what's critical is the kind of commentary and the visibility that the management would have now that this month you'll have the festive season kick off, which it already has with Navratris, and what kind of visibility they have for next month. But clearly, auto companies are banking on the festive fervor to soothe the slowdown pain as the September auto sales numbers trickle through the day. Pranay joins in, giving us the detailed list of the major launches by auto companies for the current quarter. Pranay?
Yes, Aisha, auto companies have been waiting for this festive season, and in the next 2 to 3 months, there are quite a few launches which are planned across segments. So if you talk about the most competitive compact segment, the hatchback, then you have the Renault Kwid, which is expected to be launched in the next few days. Just yesterday, you saw Maruti trying to nudge ahead, and they launched Espresso in order to give fight to Kwid, which is expected to be launched. So the pricing is expected to be sub 4 lakhs even for this, and good volume numbers are expected. So that's what these two companies are banking on. Then if you move up a segment into the premium hatchbacks, then Tata is looking to launch its first car in this segment, which is called Altroz. In the next couple of months, it's expected to be between 6 to 8 lakhs, and they are looking to take away some business from Hyundai i20 and Maruti Baleno, which have been the best runners over here. If you move up a segment further, which is basically your premium sedans, then again Hyundai has got a facelift launch planned for Elantra, which is going to be in the 14 to 20 lakh rupee segment. Here the winners have been Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla Altis, both which have received facelifts recently. Even Skoda Octavia, for that matter, looks contemporary, so they are looking to take the fight to these cars. Honda has another facelift launch planned in the SUV segment, but this is the 20 lakh plus category. So Tucson facelift is expected to be launched by Jan, and it will be fighting against Jeep Compass, Volkswagen Tiguan, as well as MG Hector, which has been doing extremely well in the 15 lakh rupee category. In fact, MG Hector, for that matter, which had already secured bookings of over 30,000 units, just 2 days back reopened bookings as it expects to ramp up its production. But it's not the only thing. EV, which is the second buzzword after discounts and offers this time, you have some launches which are slated over there as well. So the only one in affordable category is expected from Mahindra in the 9 to 10 lakh rupee segment over here, which will be the E version of the KUV slated for December. It'll be interesting to see what is the kind of range that they are offering on this one. MG, which has done extremely well in their debut car, is also looking at an electric version, but that will be in the 23 to 25 category, and that's also expected early next year. Besides Nissan Leaf, which is expected to be the most expensive because of high import components over here, that's as of now expected to be between 40-45 lakh rupees.
Okay, let's take this discussion forward. All these new launches, whether or not this can really turn around sentiment, at least for the markets, the sentiment has changed. You've seen a good amount of recovery from the lows for across auto companies. But let's see whether this can, or how much this can really translate to on-ground recovery. We've got on board with us Nikunj Sanghi from JS Fourwheel. And we also have with us Hormazd Sorabjee from Autocar joining in. Gentlemen, morning. Nikunj, if I could start with you. You know, RC Bhargav sees weakness bottoming out. Hero MotoCorp, we had a comment coming in from Pawan Munjal from the Hero Group. He also expects a 10% growth this festive season. Have dealers started seeing any signs of a revival yet? I mean, are footfalls actually converting to sales yet?
Happily so. I think the first 2 days of Navratras have been reasonably good. Not as good as we expected, but I think going by what was happening in the market, the 2 days have been very good. And I think if the momentum that we have seen in these 2 days carries on for the festival period, then I would agree with the industry, Mr. RC Bhargav, and also with Mr. Pawan Munjal, that we will show some revival. And a 10% growth is a reasonable growth to look at this festival season.
Sure. And what's the inventory situation like at present, given the various initiatives as well from OEMs, dealers? Do you see it normalizing anytime soon?
Well, if the festival does go the way we are looking at it, the inventories will normalize. Obviously, as of now, inventory levels are high because I think all the OEMs were looking at not losing out on any retail if inventories were not available. So as of now, inventories are high, but going the way the season is going, I'm sure by the end of the season, the inventory should be in control.
Hormazd, hi, morning. What did you think of Maruti's latest offering, the Espresso? And do you think this new launch, new product launches, that can really revive sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, it is an important launch because it comes in at the low end of the market. So obviously, volume potential is pretty high over there. But, I think it's going to take more than just a single product to revive the market. And I think what we've seen with a lot of these new launches so far, they haven't really grown the market. They've kind of eaten into market share. I mean, we had a classic example of the Kia Seltos and the MG Hector, which are both right now the star performers in the market in their respective segments, but they haven't really grown the market. In fact, the market fell. So I think, I think what we have seen, as Nikunj has also said, is an overall improvement in sentiment. I think we hit the bottom in August. Clearly now there's an upward trajectory. Obviously, a long way to go from what the original forecasted growth rates were, or even the volumes were. But I still think it's going to be, going to be a bit of a choppy ride. Don't forget, we've got BS6 still coming, and that's causing huge disruptions. A lot of models are being phased out. They're not going to be replaced easily. And I think, going forward, what I predict is we're going to see a huge number of diesel models just exiting the market. So I think what we predicted is over 24 models gone by April 2020. And there's no real substitute for diesel. I think that's going to leave a big hole. Whether it can be filled by petrol or other options remains to be seen. But I think the whole BS6 scenario is still a bit of an issue. And I think, it's not clear blue skies out there as yet.
Sure. Okay, so, Hormazd, we've had several OEMs as well waiting and watching to see how Maruti will perhaps price its BS6 models. They've got the new launch as well. What's your view on the pricing of it, and whether or not it's going to be attractive for a category like this, whether they're on the right track according to industry expectations as well?
Well, look, I think, looking at the success of the Quid, which was really the first so-called micro SUV, and now the S-Cross has, in a way, the Espresso has followed in that, vein. Clearly, I think there is huge potential because everyone likes an SUV, whatever segment it is in. That's really the flavor of the month. People like that body style. And, coming from Maruti with its wide network, I think there is a lot of potential. Maruti just has to be careful it doesn't cannibalize its existing models. It's not too far away from the Alto. But I do see two distinct kind of buyers. Alto buyers, more conservative type, and, whereas those looking at the Espresso want something which does make a bit more of a statement. But again, it's got a lot of potential. But one just has to see whether this actually grows the market or just eats into other models' market share.
Nikunj, how is it that you are assessing the discounts, the offers going on at present? And of course, all these new launches as well, which are slated up, starting out from Kia to yesterday, Maruti's Espresso. Is this the peak of promotions, or will we see more closer to, say, Feb, March? And is now the best time to really buy?
So I would say this is definitely the best time to buy. I have not seen discounts like this ever before, and why I am saying that this is the best time to buy is because manufacturers are seized of the fact that they will need to graduate onto BS6 much before February, and I see BS4 stocks going down, and they would not want to get into a situation where they need to get into a fire sale at the end of February or in March. And if they want to avoid that, then I think BS4 will be not in stocks at around that time. So I don't think there will be, no manufacturer would risk doing a fire sale in March. Therefore, this is the best time to buy, definitely. And like Hormazd very rightly said that these new products, Kia, Hector, and I'm sure even Espresso, they will cannibalize existing products, and I don't think they will do any increment to the current market size. And but that's the only way the market will move. I think some new launches, some discounts, some schemes, and some aggressive financing by financial institutions. I think those are the only ways the market will sustain even at its present level. And if none of these things are there, then obviously you can only see worse than what we have already seen in August and September.
Is there a stress at auto dealers? They do all the heavy lifting. Is there a stress there, the inability to stock more, restock more? Because we are trying to understand the Uber impact, we're trying to understand what will happen to BS4 shifting to BS4, moving to BS6. But fundamentally, do you think the problem is in the supply chain and at least at auto dealer level?
So I think the stress was there, and I think we have seen the peak of stress. And since then, the stress has only relieved as far as inventories are concerned, because I think manufacturers were sensitized by almost every financial institutions, be it banks or NBFCs, about the stress levels at the dealerships. And most manufacturers have taken a very conscious effort in correcting those inventories. So I think the stress levels have peaked, and going forward, I think after the festival season, and dealers would be relieved a lot of stress if the inventory levels do get corrected. There'll be some outliers. There will be some dealerships which are over leveraged, and I think they have only themselves to blame and not the market or the present condition. But the stress levels have definitely peaked and now are only on sliding to a much safer zone than they were. And I think a lot we'll know after the festival season. I think even if the festival season shows a 10% growth over the existing levels, the inventory levels would be within control in most dealerships.
Hormazd, what we analyze is the wholesale data, Hormazd. Just for the benefit of our viewers, wholesale data is the data which company reports because that's the number of dispatches they account. What we get from FADA, Hormazd, is the retail data. Retail data is contracting at 15%, wholesale sales are down by 25 to 30%. So there would be a time when the inventory automatically will start getting clear. Where do you think, how far are we away from that, Hormazd?
Well, I think we've got a hard stop in the terms of, BS6 because, wholesale, retail, it all has to go by then because you can't sell a car after that. So I think, obviously that process has already started in the run-up to BS6 where the deadline is March 31st. So clearly, I think, this can't be, there is an end to this. And I think the process has already started, as Nikunj said. I think now inventory management is really the order of the day. That's really what is causing a lot of stress, especially at the dealerships, as Nikunj said. But I think, one good thing about BS6 is everyone can have a clean start from April 1, 2020. And I think, one should move towards retail data because that really is representative rather than reporting wholesale data because, just to get the numbers up there, I think inventories kind of pushed or rammed down dealers' throats just to get those numbers going. So I think, clearly, I think we are going to a situation where inventory levels will have to come down dramatically and probably be at almost zero by the time the emission regulation switches.
Just to understand also launches, facelifts going forward, any particular segments, products that you're watching out for that you think may help to really kickstart the market as well, given that companies are going all out to woo consumers right now, festive season, and even heading further into Feb?
Well, I think I'm not so let's say hopeful because again, just coming back to the whole BS6 scenario. It's a very unique situation. It's not the typical festive season where there are going to be huge number of launches. Don't forget now you've got a window of just about 6 months before the regulation changes. So what manufacturers are doing, in fact, they're holding back their launches because it doesn't make sense doing a BS4 launch. I mean, unless you want to do BS6, but then you'll be tagging on the cost of that already, which some manufacturers don't want to do. So I think there's going to be a bit of a lull, if you ask me. Even cars like the Tata Altroz, which was to be launched in August and or September, Tatas have pushed that to next year because they've also seen no value in coming out with the BS4 engine and then having to upgrade it in a couple of months to BS6. So I think everyone's going to now be looking at BS6 launches as that window is contracting, because just to launch a BS4 for a couple of months absolutely doesn't make sense. I think the big issue that I see is a lot of good vehicles are going to be exiting the market purely because they won't meet the new regulation. And as Nikunj said, it's not just the best time to buy in terms of discount. There are some really good models out there which will be gone forever, especially certain diesel models. You've got Renault's K9K engine, which is a fantastic engine. Now that's what we've heard is going to be discontinued. So all the products which are powered by that engine, I think now is the time to buy them. So you've got a whole lot of models, which are going to be phased out, and they're still very, very good models. So the time to buy them is right now.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us on that, trying to dissect really the kind of demand environment we're foreseeing for the auto pack. And first off, the numbers coming in, at least with regards to sales, still not looking all that great. Bajaj Auto in particular, that one just came out a few minutes ago.